Hello, hello. How's it going? It has been a couple weeks, I know. We are so busy with so many things, I can't even begin to tell you them all. But one is Krampus, and super, super excited to talk about Krampus and to do some live surface mount soldering and show you how it all goes together. Hello, Bob. It's good to see you. So yeah, we've been busy. We did some like promos over the Thanksgiving week, and we're also doing a promo for all of December on the F Unicorn because it's just that time of year where, like, as happy as it is, there are also certain annoyances that come with get-togethers and gatherings, and sometimes you just want to tell everybody to fuck off, and the F Unicorn is an awesome way of doing that. I'm actually not sure that we've live streamed the F Unicorn before. Maybe we should do that at some point, but yeah, it's very, very classy. If you haven't seen it, you can look it up on our website. It is a rearing unicorn with "fuck you" written in LEDs in cursive script. So you can't change the message. It's just one message that is permanently written in 100 plus 0603 LEDs. But it's kind of funny in that we have like a little like semi-opaque piece of acrylic that goes in front of it, so you can't see the LEDs until you activate it, and then they shine through, and so it's like a little bit of a surprise for people who haven't seen it before. And it's either capacitive touch based, or you can get the big red button kit. Ooh, and right now we also have so we have like a little bit of a special going on where it's like $49.69 because F unicorns think that things ending in 69 is funny. And it's also like 4x7, so it's like a relatively big circuit board. It's like a significant thing that can have a place of honor on any table or desk. And so the other special that we have going on is that we have both the button kit, and now we have an ultrasonic distance sensor kit. You can get both of those for an extra $10. So it can either be like big red button actuated or capacitive touch actuated, or you can hook up the distance sensor and make it like 6 foot socially distanced activated. So if you're sick of people getting up in your personal space, because COVID is still happening, as it turns out, this is also a good way to like tell people to back up a little bit. So, and we do have code for all of this stuff up on GitHub. So we have like different examples. It's actually like an officially integrated Arduino library, so you can like install it through the Arduino library interface. We try to make it super easy for you. And we're also about to come out with a series of blog posts talking more about that library and more about how we wrote the code, because we did it more with like direct register accesses than using the built-in Arduino functions, just because it wasn't originally Arduino compatible, and then we made it Arduino compatible. And so we thought it was a good opportunity to kind of show people like, okay, well, this is how you do this thing not using the Arduino libraries, because I think that there are a lot of people who get started coding with Arduino and are kind of like looking for a way to progress and to understand how to talk more directly with processors themselves. So we have like, we're commenting a bunch of those libraries and stuff. Oh boy, we need to moderate our comments for the first time. Block user. Woo! That's a first. Hey, I think we've made it.
I think we have.
We've made it to the big time. We had spam comments that we had to actively moderate and block. Cool. Alrighty then.
I wish it would go away instead of just leaving that there that you blocked.
I think it's just for us. I don't think that the public can see it, fortunately. Yeah. So it ain't that kind of live stream, people. It's just electronics. Sorry. If you were wanting something else, you gotta go elsewhere. Maybe OnlyFans is better for you than YouTube. But anyway, okay, I think that's probably enough about the F Unicorn. And now we should talk about Krampus. So Krampus, oh, you can still see it, Bob. Damn. Well, I don't. We'll have to figure out. We'll figure out after the live stream if we can also kind of like delete it on YouTube or whatever. We blocked it like through StreamYard, so since we haven't had to do this before, we're learning. We might have to also like delete it on YouTube as well as blocking that person on StreamYard. Maybe that probably makes sense. But anyway, so. Well, Bob, you'll just have to write a lot more comments and chat with us more so that it just like scrolls off the screen and you don't have to see it anymore. So, yeah, Krampus. So this was Robin's idea. It's completely her awesome fault. We were thinking about like doing a Christmas thing and like, I don't know, inspiration did not strike me and it struck her and it's awesome. And so she was like, how about Krampus? And I was like, yeah, Krampus. Because I don't know, we're not really like sugar and spice people around here. Hey, let's go. I love it. Yeah, so we're not super sugar and spice. We're a little crotchety. And so Krampus is kind of just our style. If you don't know, Krampus is sort of the anti-Santa Claus. He started out as a pagan deity, and I think that there were some some festivals regarding kind of like driving away evil spirits. And so like you kind of like dressed up as the evil spirits and like drove them away. And but as Catholicism got mixed up in everybody's shit, he kind of found an analog, like an anti-analog, I guess. There's probably a word for that I'm not thinking of right now. Nemesis, maybe, to Saint Nick. So Saint Nick rewards the good children, right? Krampus punishes the naughty ones. So yeah, if you've been bad, Krampus will come and get you. And so, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, a little bit of both, whatever. He's just kind of a cool dude. So he has this like really long tongue in most drawings and these horns, and a lot of times he has chains and stuff like that. And so yeah, we made him have some like ear jewelry here and some horn jewelry. And this also doubles as the place. We're actually adding a little bit of gold chain, fake gold, sorry. It's not that kind of a kit. We wanted to keep it affordable. So there's like a little bit of like a brass colored chain that we're putting on these so that you can hang them as like a cool ornament or whatever. And so we're also selling him. Santa Claus is the carrot. Yeah. Tom, I just had to block a spam comment. I know this isn't exactly like a totally for kids live stream. Sorry. Actually, not sorry. There need to be more live streams for adults. But yeah, Santa Claus is the carrot, Krampus is the stick, and yes, this is what Krampus looks like. And we had our awesome graphic designer, Caitlin. We basically sent her a bunch of inspiration images and some instructions on how to like break down the different artwork into different layers so that we could more easily import it into KiCad. And like, yeah, she came up with this freaking awesome illustration, which is fantastic. Caitlin is the bomb. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. This is the chain, the gold chain that goes and that he hangs by. So yeah, it can be an ornament. I guess we didn't really, yeah, we're not really making him a wearable, I guess. We didn't talk about putting pins in with this kit. Maybe we could. Maybe we should. I don't know. Could. We have a bunch of pins. Could throw one in case you want to pin Krampus to something, or magnet it to something. Actually, I should probably do the whole pin and magnet thing too, now that I'm thinking about it. But so yeah, so Caitlin did this design. It was Robin's idea. Robin did the board layout. And drew up the schematic. The schematic is pretty simple. Let's see, zoom out here. I'm not sure if we're gonna, yeah, I don't think zooming out is gonna be super helpful. We'll see if this works. So it is at tiny 4 controlled, like many of our things are these days. Go with the processor that is in hand. That is what you do right now, because oh my God, chip shortage is real. And so we had some at tiny 4s, and we just actually got more at tiny 4s because DigiKey happened to just get some more in stock. So yes, we are at tiny 4 rich. It's a 33-cent processor. It's a SOT236. So you basically have power, ground, reset, and 3 usable pins. And it has 512 bytes of flash and 32 bytes of RAM. So it's challenging. It's great for tiny little things that you just want to do simple things with. But yeah, it can be challenging to write code for it. And this is also another thing about why we want to teach writing code that's more like direct C and directly accessing registers and doing bit shifting and stuff like that, is because Arduino code is just, it's a little too bulky for these kind of tiny little processors that don't have very much memory. So yeah, so we have the processor, of course we have power switch, battery, we have our little programming. We're actually just doing flat surface mount pads, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. So that's our little programming spot, port, if you will. And then we have 2 LEDs being driven through a transistor for the eyes. And then we have 4 LEDs driven through a transistor for the tongue. And then we have 1 more extra switch for mode. So you can see that our 3 usable pins are for eye LEDs, tongue LEDs, and the mode switch. So that is the schematic, pretty simple. And then this is the back of the board. Krampus! So what is going on here is that we have, I don't know if more light is gonna be too shiny.
Maybe turn up the exposure.
Oh, maybe.
It might have been turned down.
Oh yeah, let's try that. Hang on, we're gonna adjust on the fly. Boop, boop, boop. That's a little better, maybe. Yeah. Try that. Okay. So we have, if we just put the overhead lights on it, it like the silver gets super shiny and like blows everything out. So so trying to be careful with the lighting here. Battery, of course. These are our 2 switches, on, off, and mode. And then we're using these, so everything is backlit with Krampus because it just kind of looks cool. So we're using these side mount LEDs that are a 1204 form factor. So they're LEDs that are on their side. The lens is made so that it's flat on both sides, so that it's actually like relatively stable and not too bad to solder into place. And it's almost 1206 size, 1204. So we have the 2 LEDs for eyes, the resistors that go along with those LEDs. Then we have the processor right here, and little decoupling capacitor off of the processor. And then these are the 4 LEDs for the tongue with their resistors as well. And then these 2 are the 2 transistors that drive them on and off. And these are the transistor gate resistors. So that is the whole thing. We did have some learning experiences with this. Ooh, I can also, can go to microscope view here. Let's get this whole thing done. I think we're set up to do that. Hey, oh, this is a little bit shiny though. Let's see if we can adjust this at all. Maybe like that. That's not too bad. And see if we can. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. So yeah, now you can see this all a little bit better. So we did have some learning experiences. We had to do this. We were a little bit behind the ball on this. Like we should have been working on this in like the summer. Instead, we were working on this in November. It's how it goes sometimes. We're limited. We're a small company. There's Robin and I here full time. And then we have like a couple of awesome contractors that work with us that help us do extra stuff and like social media and help us organize shit. and blog posts and newsletters and stuff, which is great. But we're still a small team and are resource constrained, so sometimes we get a late start on things, but that's okay because it's worth doing. So yeah, we decided to just make these boards and order them all without having done a prototype board. I did prototype the circuit super quick on a breadboard just to make sure that wasn't doing anything stupid. And it's a relatively simple circuit, so there's not too much risk, but there's always stuff, right? There's always stuff. So the first thing that happened when we got them in is that I had trouble programming it. And it turns out so you have to double team some pins here. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Ooh, that's not too bad. So, right, we have, this is our processor. And so we have, PB0, PB1, and PB2 as our 3 pins. You never really want to do anything with the reset because you don't want to accidentally reset your processor. And while you can disable the reset function, then it makes it very difficult to program. So anyway, reset is pretty much always saved as reset. So, we have 3 pins to do things with our circuit, but we also need 2 of those pins for programming. We need this TPI data and TPI clock signal for programming. TPI is 2-pin interface, I think. It's the programming protocol. It's a little bit different than normal AVRs, which have more of an SPI-based protocol called ISP in circuit series programming. So yeah, we had to multitask on these PB0 and PB1 pins. And on the breadboard, everything worked fine, but in the circuit, it did not. And basically what I should have done was added a little bit of series gate resistance for these FETs to limit the amount of current that it takes to turn them on and turn them off, because they have a bit of gate capacitance, and it also helps with signal ringing too. So it helps with charging up the gate capacitance. It helps with signal ringing. We don't care if the LEDs go on and off while programming. We don't care about that function. We just want to be able to program it. And we have high-speed data basically going between our programming connector and our processor here, and we just want to make sure that those lines are clean. So fortunately, I was able to just find a different transistor that had lower gate charge, and everything seems to be good. These are hopefully not my famous last words. Thank you, Tom, for pushing that stuff off the screen. We'll clean it up in post, hopefully. We did block them. So yeah, so there was a little bit of learning there about shit, this was kind of different from the breadboard circuit. Not super surprising. Breadboards have way different characteristics, more resistance, more capacitance too, actually, but it was solvable with just different FETs. Cool. The other thing still related to that was that the TPI data line was the most picky, this guy, and so it was not happy with the 10K resistor pull down, so we changed both of these to 100K. So these are now 100K. The FETs are just slightly different. And we're also changing the value of the resistors here. It's always a little bit difficult to anticipate how bright your LEDs are going to be with how much current. So, I sized this for 2 milliamps because that's usually reasonably bright. But since we're using the board as a diffuser and stuff like that, they actually need a little bit more current. So we're gonna use 249 ohm resistors there, or 220. I forget what I ordered, one of the two, in there instead, to just get a little bit more current and a little bit more brightness. You might have noticed that the one that I had on the bench was a little bit dim, and it has those 470 ohm resistors in it. So yeah, that's what's happening. So all right, I can kind of shut up now a little bit and maybe start to assemble this. Order is always an interesting thing. What do you want to do first, second, third? I think that I am going to, it doesn't really matter on this one. There's a lot of space between parts. So I think I'm just going to start with the LEDs because I like LEDs. And they're kind of the more interesting part too, because they're this side mount thing, which you might not have seen before. So I'll show you what they look like in the tape too, because I think that is kind of interesting. Let's see if I can get it not super bright there. So yeah, you can kind of see that in the tape they're on their side. And let me see if I can carefully peel a little bit off while it's still in the tape to get you an even better view there. Yeah, so so you can see that there are these little side mount dudes, and that the lenses are also like they're round in the front, you know, they're curved like this way, but they're very, very flat on the top and on the bottom. So yeah, they're really great for, they are actually pick and place compatible. And so they're cool for all of these like side light emitting applications that you might have. So I'm going to grab 6 of those. I think that was 6. Yep. And put them next to my Krampus here. Krampus. And start doing some soldering. For surface mount stuff like this, I always like to put some flux down first, and we'll clean. So this is also a matte black circuit board, which it looks cool, but it also like shows everything. So we'll clean these off with some isopropyl alcohol before they're completely done. So the next thing that you can see is that, of course, LEDs are directional. And so it's important that we put them in the correct way. Even though the LED itself has the little, has the round lens, so you can point the lens in the right direction, it's still possible, like you could put it this way, or, right, you could turn it around and put it down that way, which would be backwards. So it's always good to look at your LED. And right now we can see that our green cathode marker is on this side, and we have a white line, which is now a little hard to see because of the flux, but we have a white line that's right next to the cathode pad on the board, and so we can just solder it down. And let's see, grab out my solder. My iron should be ready. I actually, so this is lead-free 0.6 millimeter, I think. Yeah, 0.6 millimeter solder. This is actually like a little bit big for surface mount stuff. I would say I prefer having skinnier solder for surface mount stuff. So maybe like 0.4 or even like 0.3. It's relatively big surface mount stuff that we're doing. So it's not, this would definitely be too big for 402s, and it would kind of be a pain in the butt for 603s. So because we put the flux down there, it's really easy. It's really easy to solder. We can just like put a little ball on the tip of our iron, and while we're holding the other side down with the tweezers, we can it'll solder and it'll flow very nicely. If you try doing that without the flux that's internal to the solder core will tend to just boil off by the time you get it down to the board. And so you won't have a good joint. It might not stick at all to the pad. So that's why we do flux ahead of time, so that it then combines, the solder on your tip, which might not have any flux anymore, combines with the flux that's on your board, and then it makes a very nice joint. And I think I've talked about different types of fluxes before. Water soluble flux is really, really nice for surface mount stuff because it is a very aggressive flux. So I'm looking right now, figuring out the right way for this LED to go, and then kind of double checking it. Yep. So yeah, I really like water soluble flux. You do have to make sure to clean it off, because it is very active, and so it can actually like continue etching your board. And yeah, and it can also interfere with low voltage analog signals, as Tom Full knows, because we've had that problem before, haven't we, Tom? I used to work with Tom. So cool. Oh, Bob says, yeah, new terms, gate capacitance and signal ringing. Yep, that happens. Tom, how are those side mount LEDs for loading up for later IR oven baking? Do they stay upright properly? Aha, good question. So this is probably a good time to mention that this kit comes in a few different versions. One is going to be the Hacker Challenge version, and like it's not up on our website yet, but all the stuff will be up in the next couple of days. So we will sell fully assembled kits that you don't, well, not kits, fully assembled boards that you don't have to do anything to, that are just already programmed, loaded, blink away when you turn them on, and with hanging hardware already installed. And those we're assembling here ourselves because, as I mentioned, we were kind of behind the ball on this and just didn't have time to get them done out of house. And we're doing that in the reflow oven. And yeah, like we did some today, Robin did some, and I don't think there were any problems with the LEDs, were there? No, yeah. So they reflow super well. They stay in one spot. They're quite stable. I hear that maybe like original versions of side mount LEDs that weren't completely flat on the top and the bottom, I hear that they can be a pain in the ass for reflow, but these actually are pretty good. Yeah, no problems with them yet. Hopefully those are not our famous last words. So yeah, you can see that was some solder that had some flux boiled off on it. You can tell, I don't know if you can tell through the video, maybe a little bit, that I don't know, let's see if I can get it. Oh yeah, actually, well, kind of. Yeah, so this side of the joint, this right side here, it's just like not as shiny and it looks kind of crystallized. There's a big blob on it, which is why it's that funky shape. So sometimes, especially if it's your the first one that you weren't adding solder to at the same time, it's kind of nice to add some flux and just go over it again, just to make sure it's a nice joint. And at this point in time, I'll also like kind of try to scrape some solder off. So I'll kind of do that. And I feel like yeah. I mean, there's still like extra solder on it, which is fine. Although, oh, so this is a good point on these. Oh, actually, no, because this is not an RGB one, so it's probably fine. Yeah, I think it's okay. Let me look at another LED here for a second. RGB LEDs, yeah, this is fine. So you'll notice here that each pad, let me see if I can actually get this a little bit closer. It's going to be hard to kind of get in the right orientation here, but let's see how we can do this. Focus. Oh, no, we might not be able to focus this enough. Shoot, we'll do that. There. So, okay. So you can see the LED actually has 3 pads on it. There's a middle one. That is not electrically connected to anything. That is just for solder stability. I did not put that in my footprint because we wanted to do the Hacker Challenge version where we give you just a kit of parts and you solder it up yourself and program it yourself and stuff like that. And I thought that having an extra pad in the middle would essentially make this part finer pitch and easier to bridge. And we're not super concerned if it's like a little bit, if it's not perfectly square, you know, to the pads, it doesn't matter. If it's like a little bit, you know, skewed, like 30 degrees or something, it's not going to make a difference. So so that pad we have not put on. So we've only done the left and the right pads there, and they are solid for the entire like the entire side of that pad, right, is one signal. RGB LEDs that are this size and side mount, the top is a separate pad from the bottom. So each of these pads on the left and right are basically like two pads, one at the top and one at the bottom of the LED. So you have to make sure not to bridge both pads on the one side if you're hand soldering them. And they also, you're like, well, how do they actually make it down to the board if they're, on the top of this LED? They kind of like make this little L or reverse, I guess, upside down L. So like, let me see if I can draw this super quickly under a microscope, because why not? I'll just do this. So like if you're looking down at the LED, and if the LED is going through the board, it's like, where am I? So it's like the top pad here. Ooh, that's a little blurry. There we go. Top pad there. And it kind of goes to a inner one. And then this is what RGB side mount LEDs look like. So, so yeah, like you don't want to do a big solder blob down to your pad. Like we're looking at it so that the lens is pointed down right now. If there were a circuit board, it would be like right here, right underneath it. So when you're soldering these, you want to make sure that you only solder here and that you don't accidentally blob up to that top pad, essentially. So those style are a little bit trickier to solder. And I don't know that I would do that as a soldering kit unless it was like, an indefinite, even bigger hacker challenge. So let's see. So the tongue is just FR4 with no solder mask. Yes, no solder mask and no copper, correct. So the light will be visible from the other side. Yeah, I don't know if you came, Tom, if you were here when I did the little bit of the show and tell. Let's see, you might actually be able to see it reasonably well under the microscope. So yeah, so that's how it looks through the board. And then like that. We could have probably, we were debating about how close to stick the LEDs to the opening there. We decided to put them back a little bit so that, oh, I know, it was so that we could easily draw which way the lens was going in the silk screen so that we could do that little U. Because if we put them closer to that solder maskless area, board houses won't print silk screen. They won't print silk screen over areas that don't have solder mask. And this is to prevent you from accidentally printing silk screen like on an exposed pad or something like that. So yeah, we wouldn't have been able to as easily denote the direction of the LEDs. So that's why we pulled them back a little bit from that opening so that we could have that nice U so that it would be clear which direction they were going in. Which, if we'd had them soldered by a board house, wouldn't be a big deal. But since we wanted to do the DIY challenge version, we wanted people to actually be able to solder it themselves. So yeah, so the Hacker Challenge version of this, let's see, I'm gonna redo this here. Focus it for my eyeballs first, then focus it for you guys. There. So yeah, Hacker Challenge version is going to be, you get the board, you get your kit of parts, you solder it yourself. We're also giving you a USB ASP programmer that we will have already updated so that it talks the TPI protocol. Ooh, I want to put Flex on this pad first. So it'll talk TPI, and also, so we did something kind of clever here. We didn't have a ton of room. It would have been really hard to shove on like a bigger programming connector, like connector pads. So what we decided to do is make it pogo programmable. So basically we made this little pogo adapter board as well, which is about to be on our shop. And it takes either a 10-pin, we have a 10-pin cable version and a 6-pin cable version. So you can just plug in whichever programmer you have, and then it breaks it out into these pogos. These guys are 3/10 of an inch apart, which makes it, in our opinion, a little bit easier and more stable to sort of push down against than if we did them all at like 1/10 of an inch apart, which makes it kind of tippy, and it just makes it easier to accidentally short stuff out if you have it like a little bit off. So we did 3/10 of an inch because also that would be compatible with our surface mount ISP connector, footprint, because the surface mount footprints the pads don't tend to go as close in as they would need to be for 10th inch spacing. So it allows us to be compatible with a few things. We can be compatible with like this minimal sort of pogo footprint or a normal surface mount footprint. Oh, I can actually kind of show you what I'm talking about, because for our dev board, we did kludge in an actual connector, because when you're reprogramming stuff a lot, like in development, it's nice to not have to deal with pogos. So as you can see, that's the surface mount version that we've just like soldered on top of those pads. This is just for us for development. So yeah, that also, if we had like a normal footprint for that, it would be compatible with that as well. So anyway, you get the board, you get a bunch of parts, you get the programmer, you get the pogo kit, and you get to do whatever you want with it. And of course, all of our code is going to be up on GitHub. So, if you want to start with code that works, you can do that and load ours. And then, you can modify it and make it your own and see how much you can squeeze into 512 bytes. It is an interesting challenge for sure. I kind of like that challenge. It also really I took a lot of different things in college. I took a lot of different classes in college, and most of them were about manufacturing and like building mechanical shit. And so I never took a class, like a formal class on microprocessors or embedded systems. And, pretty much all of what I've learned, I've just, learned on the job or, myself, from the internet, various resources, books, whatever. And so I've never really sat down and really learned about the different types of memories available in processors and where your variables go and which memory and where they get stored and stuff like that. And I just actually, it was part of Hackaday, it was the Remoticon. Alicia White did a really cool talk, and it's all on YouTube, so you can look it up. She did a cool talk on memory maps. And that was really interesting for me because it filled in a lot of blanks that I was missing about where compilers store different variables and stuff like that. And why is all of this important? Well, it's important when you have so little memory, right? And it turned out that I'm used to this, I don't know, certain ethos in programming that's you should only make global variables that you need to have global variables, right? Because any function can change them. They're not local to any function. So only use a global variable when you need many different functions to be able to change them. But for this particular board, it turns out that I had more space available in RAM for global variables than I necessarily did in program space. So, things like that, it's a fun learning experience for me, at least, to go through this and be able to see with one change to my code what difference that actually really makes in terms of the storage and where things are. All right, so those are done. I'm gonna do the processor next. I'm talking a lot, so this is taking longer, which is normal for the live stream. Used a similar approach on the RBG batch kit. Yeah, we did. And that is still going. I know it kind of got put on the back burner again. Sorry, RBG. Because of Krampus, actually. Krampus is a little more holiday time critical. So we decided we just didn't have the bandwidth to do both of them at once. And so we decided to focus on Krampus for the holidays, and we will be picking up RBG back in the new year. Because actually I did use the RBG board to breadboard the Krampus. So it was really helpful. And we're also thinking of potentially pitching it as a crowd supply project, applying for that for RBG, because we think it has like maybe a little bit more mass appeal to have like a cool development board for these tiny processors, And again, we can like sell the complete kit and, have the programmer, and we might even make our own USB ASP since it's like completely an open source design. So yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we could do with that. So processor, of course, is directional. I am lining up the tiny little dot on the top of the processor with the dot there so that pin 1 is in the right place. This is the standard KiCad SOT236 hand soldering pattern. So they already made this pattern that had legs or pads that are slightly longer so that you can like get a soldering iron in. Awesome, there we go. And now the next thing that I will solder, since I just saw them, are the MOSFETs, since we're on SOT23 stuff. These are SOT23-3 pads. So we're thinking of doing that as a crowd supply thing, and hopefully like getting a little more interest and eyes on it and stuff like that. That would be cool. Ooh, we have 2 left in the tape. Don't lose any of these. We have more. Don't worry, we have more. But yeah. What else? I don't know what else. The joy of memory maps, bootloader ROM, regular RAM, IO registers, etc. Exactly. Like, I knew that like IO registers obviously are like, different than just your program memory and stuff like that. But yeah, it's super interesting to see, like, I'm used to thinking of my program as my program, and it sort of like all goes into Flash, right? And that's not the case actually. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more. Oh, so I am also signed up for, so Alicia is doing a class on ClassPert, and it is entirely, it's a mini week thing with homework, legitimate class, all about embedded programming. I signed up for it. They might still have a special. So the first run of her class was sold out super fast, and I think it's happening now basically. And I knew that I had like no extra time to do anything over the holidays, so I was like, oh, I'll get the second installment. And the first installment they did, I think it's like $600, which you might think like, oh my god, that's a lot for a class, but this is like pro level instruction, right? She has been doing this for many years. She is an embedded systems design expert, and getting it taught by her and getting the benefit of her decades of knowledge on this, I think is really useful. It's more like, I am thinking of it more as a, specific class that you would, probably not even get in college, because college classes tend to even be more general, So I think it is very much worth it. But the second run, they increased the price to $900, but there's still a deal right now going, like for the first, I think 25 people who sign up or something, you can still get into the class for $600. So yeah, look into that if you're interested. I think it's going to be great and useful. And, I design embedded systems and I write some embedded code. But again, like, my entry into that has been different, and I haven't had a ton of formal instruction in that. So I am looking forward to getting some of that. All right, now I think we will do our 100K resistors, which I know they're labeled on the board as 10K. As I mentioned before, there were some learning things, but that's all right. Now, we specifically did not label the LED resistors because we knew at the time that it was likely that we would change the values around. So we didn't label those, and we were like, oh, we'll just label the other ones on the board because those won't change. Yes, everything changes. But whatever, giving people instructions to stuff the 100K resistor in the spot that says 10K, we figured wouldn't be too bad. And again, this is, I feel like we did pretty well given the amount of time that we had to devote to it. We have boards that we can actually make work. So in my book, that is a win. It is a huge win. Yeah, there are also a couple things that we would probably do a little bit differently on the silk screen too, but minor stuff.
Just like add on off.
Yeah, we forgot to label our switches. I mean, it was good that we didn't label the second switch because we decided not to do the blinking, right? Or not to do the solid on mode. We have either pulsing or flashing. Yeah. And so it was good that we didn't label the mode switch, but yeah, we probably should have labeled the on-off switch. Oops. Small things that you forget about when you're kind of rushing. Oh, all right. See you later, Tom. Good to have you. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Ooh, hang on a second, Bob. I saw your comment there. I'm going to finish soldering this capacitor, then I'll respond. Okay. We can add manual paging of memory. Yeah. Alicia, yeah, it is. It is a chunk of money for sure. I think it's worth it. I think that she's getting paid, paid like a proper amount for her time and expertise for sure. But like, yeah, obviously it is, not affordable for everyone. It's a chunk of change that you have to really save up for, or maybe if you're lucky, your company will pay for it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it gave me pause too, but I know that it'll be useful. Even, yeah, it's one of those things, even though I sort of know how to do already most everything she's teaching, having a better background in it, knowing why some things are the way they are. And again, all this stuff about memory that I could really, use some learning on. I think those will all be useful, as well as just, it's always interesting to learn from other people who have been doing things as well. Even if you've been doing the same things they are, everybody has their own sort of way of approaching things. And it's great to be able to think outside of your own head about those things. So yeah. The hacker challenge kit sounds intriguing. Yes. Yeah. So the hacker challenge kit is going to be $20. The fully assembled is $25. And then we're also going to do a version that is super cheap, $10. That is just the board itself. So if you just want to, the board itself is kind of pretty, right? It's cool. So if you just want the board and the little rings and chain and stuff to hang it, and you want to put it on your tree or whatever and put your own lights in back of it, we thought that would be a cool, very affordable way for people to be able to do that. So yeah, three versions. And the reason that the Hacker Challenge kit isn't much of a discount over the fully assembled one is because of the extra stuff we're providing, like the extra programming adapter and the extra programmer, and the fact that we're doing the firmware updates on the programmer and stuff like that. So it's yeah, it turned out like, honestly, I should be charging the same for both of them based upon like the bill of materials and the time and stuff like that. But I don't know. I felt like you should get a bit of a discount for that hard work of soldering that you're doing. It's it's funny. So there's I feel like we should maybe put together like a super basic SMD soldering kit. Although that one, there's one from GikFun, GIKFUN, which you can get on Amazon. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. And yeah, I'm sure that if you search for like SMT soldering or beginning soldering, it's pretty cool. It's like about the size of a business card or a little bit more than a business card. And it just has rows. They give you a whole bunch of just excess components. And so you can just solder like an entire row of 1206s and an entire row of 805s and an entire row of 603s just to like really get in the groove and get practice with it, figure out what techniques work for you the best, that kind of thing. And then they also have like a little circuit in the middle that is 555 timer based. That's like a little flasher LED kind of stuff. So yes, until we come up with something, get theirs because it's a good one. It's a good little one. I gave it to Robin. I gave it to everybody who I taught surface mount soldering to. It's like their first soldering.
It was the first thing I ever started on. It was very helpful to have just like rows of it. It's like writing sentences or doing something repetitive. It really helped kind of.
Yeah. And I think it's nice also to have stuff that doesn't go to anything that you're not afraid of screwing up, right? Like
no pressure.
Yeah. Like even though it's like, it's not big pressure anyway, like, oh, well, you screwed up a surface mount soldering kit and now it doesn't work. Well, but still like just allowing yourself to not even have that, you know, like there's no way to fail. Just do it. Just practice. So, all right, doing the switches. Yeah, some of the stuff that I learned on was like crazy, unique, and expensive, and there was a little bit of pressure there. So I will say the other thing that we would change is the switch pattern. We went with the basic switch pattern, and we should have modified it a little bit to make the pads a little bit bigger. So I feel like the switches are the trickiest thing to solder on this board, just because the pads are a bit small. And so it's helpful for this definitely to add flux like we're doing. It's just hard to get both the pad and the leg with your soldering iron. As you can see, like, because the solder, especially with the bent tip, the solder kind of wants to go to the crook instead of staying at the tip, which is like usually fine. But right now it's like not ideal. So ideally this pad would extend a little bit further so we'd be able to like get more surface area of the iron on the pad and heat it up at the same time. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know, coming in from the bottom and blobbing it a little bit. And the blob of the solder kind of helps it flow a bit because the solder makes contact where the iron can't. So, that is not beautiful. But it'll work and I'm cool with that. Yeah, like all the way around, you can tell it's not very beautiful. And, I got like, yeah, I got some blobbiness going on, but whatever. It's going to work. You're not looking for IPC certification. The thing that I do like about these, yeah, that's another kind of like interesting thing that I might change with making our own pattern. So the pattern has, these parts have like these little pegs, which help keep them in place while you're soldering. But the pattern's holes that the pegs go into I think are like a bit too big. They should be a little bit smaller to kind of trap it more, in my opinion. So I would change that as well because it can actually wiggle around a bit. Ow. Yeah. So it turns out when you're soldering those legs and they're attached to that top, they get hot. Let's see. All right. I'm going to try to do this more intelligently. And then I don't have solder on my tip. Yeah, I would still don't have solder on my tip. Hang on. Come on. Trying to do 10 things at once here. Okay. There we go. All right. Cool. So there we go. So yeah, I would change that about the pattern too. And it's funny, like, I don't know, companies really, they try to sell like, oh, there are these patterns out for you. You don't have to make your own patterns. Dude, like, there's hardly a pattern I've encountered that I haven't changed in some way for the purpose that I'm doing. And it's just the way it is. It's just part of making boards, and that's okay. So yeah, just like, you know, pretty much any pattern I've had a problem with has been one that I have not created, and I have not spent enough time checking with an actual part, with a printout and an actual part before getting the board made. So yeah. All right, well, that one is soldered now. Yay. Okay, and so now we have all these resistors, and you're probably wondering, like, why did you save the resistors to last? Oh, God damn it. Again? Son of a bitch. Yeah, we're going to have to do some reading about this. How we keep blocking them. How do they keep coming on?
Error occurred.
Oh, an error occurred. Great. Put user in timeout. Try that. Oh, maybe because we blocked the next one. Okay. Well, whatever. Okay. So anyway, the reason that we saved the resistors until last was because we actually don't have the right size of resistors right now. They're coming in tomorrow. So we have are 805 resistors, and so we're soldering them in 1206 spots, and that's just like a little tricky. So I thought I would save it for last. It's not that tricky actually, but it's not, you know, not standard. So yeah. And just to reiterate again, like basically what we're doing now is the hand soldering that you might do for the Hacker Challenge version. For the fully assembled version that we're doing, we're going to be reflowing these. So it'll all be in an oven. Now we do not have a pick and place machine. So Robin will be the pick and place machine. So they'll all be hand placed, but we do have a nice frame stencil for these. And we have like a stencil alignment fixture, which they call a printer. They call it like a manual stencil printer. It doesn't actually like print the solder paste for you. That would be really cool if it did. Yeah. But you know, it at least it's a jig, it's a fixture. It allows you to very, very easily like align and mount your boards. Because it has like these nice little fixturing tools and pegs so that you can set it all up so that the pegs key into holes in your circuit board panel. So you can just like put circuit board in, pull the stencil down, squeegee all your solder paste through, lift the stencil up, take the board out, put the next board in, repeat. So, and then you just hand place all the components and then put it through the oven. And we actually did that with an RBG board a little while ago. So if anybody is hearing this and is interested in seeing that process, check out our previous live stream with doing just that with RBG board. We didn't use the fancy stencil alignment jig for that one because we had a super cheap, like non-framed stencil because we knew we were only going to be assembling a couple boards that way. But for this one, we actually have the nice stencil aligner, and maybe we'll do maybe we'll do like a quick interim live stream sometime showing you that, because that might be kind of fun. So yeah, that is what's up. Yeah. Did we get these boards in panels? Yes, we did. We could show you one of those after I'm done soldering this. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind grabbing one, Robin, that would be cool. Yeah, we let the board house panelize it because we just didn't have the time to like do it ourselves, really. So they panelized it, and they also provided the stencil. So they panelized them 2 up. Provided the stencil 2 up. So yeah, we do 2 at a time, which is kind of a good size for this board. And also it fits in our tiny reflow oven, the panel does. Although we have like a slightly larger reflow oven too, that we could probably fit like 4 in at a time if we wanted to. But the reflow ovens I have are you know, they are cheap, sort of hobby, low volume prototyping equipment. So they're not they don't have super consistent temperature throughout the entire bed array. So it's better to just kind of like limit yourself to the middle of the oven. I need a different tip in this iron is what I need, because the tinning on the tip is finally like wearing out, and so that's also why I'm having a little bit of trouble getting the solder to stick to it. There we go. Cool. Is that all of them? I think that was all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay. Okay, so now all we have left is the battery holder. Saving that one for last. Okay, so this one, this one's tricky. This one is where Krampus definitely punishes the naughty. So the entire battery holder is 1 piece of metal that you are soldering to these pads. And that means the entire thing is going to heat up as I do this. And so while it is tempting to just hold it down with your finger, you might also kind of get a little bit toasty that way. So I might try a few different things. We actually have, in our shop, we have these little silicone finger cots, which are nice. They just protect your finger, and so that you can actually like push down on them. They're just not right here right now, so I'm just going to try something different. I'm going to try pushing it down with a stick. Cool. So I'm only like half soldering that side because I just wanted it to be enough to be stable so that I could fully solder this side. And I am going to drown this in solder because we have had issues with this style of connector popping off if it's only been reflowed. Basically, if it's only kind of soldered on the bottom, if you drop these, which happens, right? I mean, you're a human, you're walking around with it, you're wearing it, whatever, you accidentally drop it. The shock from dropping it has actually, especially like if the battery is in it at the time, it just like pops the entire connector off, unless you just like bury it in solder. So we bury it in solder now. And it does mean that these will have a secondary hand soldering process on all the ones that we are assembling. So yeah. So yes, there's a lot of handwork for these. Cool. Okay. So we have now soldered it all up. Should we try program? Do we have the pogo adapter, right? We have the prototype pogo adapter all up. We could potentially try programming it. It seems to me like, you know, like you have to, right? Live stream has to end with it lighting up and doing its thing. Yeah, let's show the panel first. We'll kind of clean up this a little bit. So switch over to here. I wonder where the pogo is though. Oh, where is the pogo? That's a good question. Oh, it might be in the Krampus pizza box. Yeah. So this is the panel. It's interesting how they did this. This is like another reason that I, sometimes we'll just let the board house do it. So they did a combination of V-score and routing, right? So they did route this edge, and we do have tabs in a few different places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish tabs, 11, 12 maybe. So you have tabs there, but then the frame from the panel, in order to kind of like minimize that, the frame is really small and it's V-scored to kind of minimize surface area. And also in between them is V-scored also to just kind of minimize surface area and wasted PCB space. If we were going super crazy on this, what I would do is I would see about nesting them. So if I were panelizing these myself, I might try to do like 5 maybe. So I would do 3 across, and then I would do 2 upside down and in between them in order to kind of like take up this wasted space. And also the other thing that, like, as we were looking at these, as we were about to send them out, like if I had more time on this, I might have done some other small little circuit board in here to have not wasted the space. Because I don't know, there's enough space in here for something. ISP header. But yeah. So yeah. Yes, it would make it a lot easier to register the alignment pins in the fixture jig. Yeah, so the alignment pins go into these tiny holes. Unfortunately, we had alignment pins that were small enough to do that. Our stencil alignment fixture came with a nice little set like assortment of little pins and stuff to help you do this kind of thing. And because usually I'm used to seeing like larger holes from US board manufacturers in here. So it was nice that those actually did work. And like sometimes people put holes in their PCB as well, of course. Like that wouldn't have worked for this because it's, it's decorative. But yeah, okay, so soldering time 1 hour. Yeah, that seems about right. Like I was talking a lot doing it. Like if I was trying to do it quickly, I probably could have done it in like 30 to 40 minutes. So not too terrible. All right, so yeah, this is the panel, and maybe we should try to program it. Oh, so these are the pogo boards that I was talking about that we made, and we actually just got the production ones in. Exciting. And we'll have these in our shop in a little while too. So what happens is these guys, so this is a USB ASP or USB ASP something. Dang it. I know, it's not letting you block. That is shitty. Maybe, could you try on your computer on YouTube?
Mm.
You might have to log in as me if you're not already logged in as me. Let me know. So this is a USB ASP programmer. And there are many, many different versions of this because it's an open source design. This is just one of them. I wrote TPI on it to mark that we updated this one's firmware to the current 2011 version, which supports TPI. For whatever reason, a lot of, like most USB programmers that you get off of Amazon or AliExpress or wherever, most of the USB ASPs, they do not, they either have their own firmware or not the latest version of USB ASP firmware. So in order to actually program these boards, you actually have to update the firmware in the programmer first and then program them. But that's why we're getting some of these boards in right now. We're doing that for you and then reselling them as part of the kit. So they generally come, they have a 10-pin ISP header on this one side. They plug directly into your USB port here. And they usually come with this cable. Some are long, some are short. That's a 10-pin to 10-pin. And then some of them also come with these like little adapter boards that you can plug in here. That's a 10-pin to a 6-pin. For our purposes, we're using the 10 pin. And so we can just plug it in here. And so this is all a kit. It comes with the 2 standoffs, the screws, 2 boards, and these pogos. And so basically what you can do is you can, like, you know, solder everything in, line it all up, screw it all together, and make your own little pogo adapter. And the way that this will work is that once this is, you know, plugged into the computer. Oh, the other thing that we kind of forgot to do, and anybody who gets the Hacker Challenge kit, we will mark this for you, because it's not fair that we kind of forgot. We forgot to put on the silk screen on the programmer pins the direction. And so we're going to actually just like mark in silver Sharpie. We're going to put a pin 1 marker for you on there so that you know which way it is. So there is, these guys are keyed. And so pin 1 is in this corner right here. And we have also kind of denoted pin 1 by making a 45-degree chamfer on one edge of these boards. So yeah. So basically what will happen is I'll plug that into the computer. This just goes down over here, and you push it a little bit so that you feel the pogos engage. And then we'll click program, hold it there while it programs, and then it should be programmed. There's one thing to note, which is that you have to program at tiny 4s at 5 volts, even though they'll work at 3 volts or, you know, even lower. I think they'll operate down to maybe 1.8 or something. They could only program at 5. So your USB ASP will be giving this 5 volts. We try to program without the battery in, but if you program with the battery in, make sure it is off so that you don't accidentally try to charge your non-rechargeable lithium-ion battery with 5 volts. That's it. You know, the Hacker Challenge is a challenge, right? It is not for the faint of heart. It is for people who are down with the Krampus. All right, so, oh my God, should we try it? Oh, and we've also like marked on this connector, we've marked like what the 6 signals are so that you can see that when you're plugging it in and programming. All right, so let's see. Ooh, were you able to get rid of that shit on YouTube? No? Oh, God damn it. I'll have to figure that out later.
Yeah. Click delete and nothing
happened. So right now I'm launching Arduino. I'm kind of waiting for it a little bit. I like the, been running the 2.0 beta version for a little while, and it's pretty nice. I like the UI a lot better. It has like dark mode and a bunch of stuff. It has a bit of weirdness with programming. It like tends to flash errors when they're like, it tends to say that there was an error programming when there actually wasn't an error programming. It's still in beta, so it's not fully released yet. And I don't know, I probably am not even running the latest version of the beta, so we might be able to download a better version. But even despite some of that stuff, it's still kind of nice. So let's see. Help and glow Krampus. I don't know. You have to say Krampus. Krampus! Krampus is like metal. All right. And we are set to a tiny core. Our chip is at tiny 4. Our clock is 1 megahertz. All right. Yeah, and this has TPI in it. And oh, now what am I gonna unplug? we have a lot of USB going on into this computer right now. Oh, hey, check that out. We already have one plugged in. I was already anticipating this. Bink, bink, bink.
Do you want me to?
Sure. Okay, I'll let you know. Oh, right. Try it. Let's see.
Oh,
hopefully this works. It's okay. It always comes up with errors and has that weird delay. Nope. Oh, God damn it. Hang on. I might not be on it. Okay, try it now. Interesting. Just not happy. Why are you not happy? Well, we might have to troubleshoot this and find out why this one isn't programming, because the other one is programming just fine.
Was able to block user.
Oh, we're able to block.
We just got
good.
4.
Jeez. I know, right? Well, all right. Might have to figure this part out later. Interesting. I'm hoping that I did use the right fets, I'm pretty sure. Hoping I should probably check direction of stuff, and like that shouldn't matter, that switch shouldn't matter. And oh, can you go to sketch or tools? Okay, programmer is USB ASP. I was actually not using this particular programmer. Let me try the other one. You never know. And we'll try this one. I know, live demos, they're always cursed. All right. This time for sure. No. Well, all right, we'll have to troubleshoot that. Oh, no, that one, yeah, this one is set to be giving 5 volts. Yeah, because I was programming the other one with it. Well, why don't you want to program? I'm just looking to see if there's anything like super obvious that I can see. And I did put the processor in the proper way. And we do have 100Ks there. And
rule for live demos, say nothing more than watch this.
Yeah, I know, right? Here, hold my beer. You see, I should have been drinking beer, so I could have been like, hold my beer.
We didn't have your live stream beer.
I know, that's the problem. That is definitely the problem.
Can expand with porn.
I can expand with
Krampus program.
All right, well, I'm probably going to have to like troubleshoot this offline. Sorry, folks, but you know, that's okay. We will figure that out and make sure that the ones that go out as kits do in fact program. There's also there's a possibility that we might be able to pre-program the processors without soldering them in. I have to look into it more. I do have an like an @tiny for like the @mel sort of programmer dev board kit thing, which does have like a little socket so that we could actually put like an individual SOT23 chip in there, close the little socket, program it that way, and send them out pre-programmed. That is a possibility if, you know, if all else fails. But yeah, we want to be able to do it with the pogo thing because that's cool. All right. Let's see. What size coin cell? Typical CR2032 are what we use. Yeah. They're the best kind of bang for buck and have the most capacity for little things like this. And I think that so we have it, here, let's put it this way, like, so, we have the flashy blinking like that. And then we have the pulsing mode like that. So these guys basically like aren't full on all the time even. And I think the current draw should be about 25 milliamps, like if they were fully on for all like total for the LEDs. So we're looking at like 10 hours of battery life if it was pulling maximum current all the time. I think will be at least twice that, just based upon the on and off and the flashing cycles. They're about like more or less sort of 50% duty cycle on that. So I think that a single battery should last about like 20 hours. So, all right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for joining us. Oh, so next week, Lee is going to do the live stream, and they're going to have some guests on, and they're actually going to do the live stream for the next 2 weeks because we're back at Farmers Market, which is kind of exciting for us. It's a fun local thing. Like Thursday night farmers markets also have a lot of entertainment and local businesses doing different things. So there is like a legit farmers market section. And then the other half of the market is sort of like anything goes section. So we're in the anything goes section. So if you're in San Luis Obispo, come visit us. We're not there tomorrow, but we'll be there the 16th and the 23rd and the 30th. And we'll be selling Krampuses and other blinkies and like unicorns and anything that we have. So yeah. So that's why Robin and I are kind of out for live streaming on Wednesday night, because farmers market is Thursday night and it would be too crazy. Oh, Tom, you just missed it not programming. I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to have to troubleshoot that offline, but live demo, that kind of thing. Live demos are always fun. So yeah. But yeah, we'll be at Farmers Market, and Lee is going to be doing the live streams for the next 2 weeks, and they're going to have some cool guests on, and I might try to like just jump on the stream in the comments at least. If I can get home by that point in time and like be doing stuff, then I'm going to try to do that, or at least kind of be in and out a little bit. But yeah, because I don't know, the guests are going to be cool. I won't spill the beans, but I'll leave it to them to let you know what's going on. Yeah. So hope everybody is surviving the holiday season and is hopefully having some fun and hopefully able to see some people, even though COVID is still doing its thing. Get
your boosters.
Get your vaccinations, get your boosters, do all the stuff, man. Do all the stuff. Encourage family and friends to do the same. Cool. Awesome. Well, see you next time. And of course, we'll be on Twitter. Woo.
Bye.
Bye.